Hey, that sounds good. That sounds great. That sounds great. All right, so what you're trying to do, like, so now that you have, you know, created a career, you know, been working in cybersecurity for over 8 years, you know, you've decided to give back and to kind of like create like a course to kind of train individuals, right, of how to get where
That
you
ain't what
are.
happened, actually. I don't mean to,
Oh, that's
that
not
ain't
what
how
happened
it happened.
next.
That no, that's
Oh,
not
what?
how it happened. Trust me.
What?
To be
Go
honest,
ahead.
I'm not the type of person like I want to teach somebody something, but I took it so serious from the time that I actually learned it. And, even some of my coworkers that were doing security, I just started training them because I was getting jobs and I was getting a lot of feedback and hitbacks. And I was the only one going on interviews like constantly. And so it came to a point where people would see me studying head in the books. And some of my friends and colleagues at work would be like, "Hey, can you help me? Can you train me?" So even after I left, I was training multiple security guards, then it became janitors, then it became multiple people, but they was all in the same space that I was already at. And then it just like blew up because they started telling people, yeah, Mina, and if initially I was just helping them for free. I just wanted them to get on because I was excited. Like, I was like, man, I actually, finally landed a job and I want to see you get on. So they told them, and then they got a job, and then another person get a job. And I'm like, hold up. They ain't making no chump change now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Like, I'm really spending my time with these people. And so I said, man, maybe I should start charging. And so
right.
after a while, I started to charge them. And it still became too many people. And so after that, I said, you know what? Let me put the course on Zoom. And I was teaching live. And then it was even more people. And I was only available to teach them on Saturdays. And so everybody's schedule was different. I'm Eastern Standard Time. I don't know where you're at. So, the live course wasn't working for everybody. So I wound up
Mhm.
just saying, you know what? I should just put together a course and sell it online so that people could like access it from anywhere at any time. And that's how the course even came about, to be honest with you. Yeah, so that's how everything even came about. I didn't even get into this because I like love teaching, but I think that people really connected to me because I'm just like them. They like, man, hold up. You break it down so easy, and they're used to people talking a certain type of way, and it's hard for them to understand it. They're used to people having a accent, and it's hard for them to understand. Because I don't know if you know the field that I'm in is it's a heavy population of a particular group of people, and they have different accents, and it's hard to understand. So it was like a breath of fresh air, and they connected with me, and shit, they was getting offer letters. So, word travels fast when they be like, man, so and so was just working over here, and now they make a six figure in IT. How they do it? Oh, you better
Yeah.
call Mina. So it was starting to be like that. So that's actually what happened.
Okay. All right. So that's cool. All right. Now, so you have now that you talked about the beginning of how you came up with the idea to do your course, and it was like a demand. People were going over. That's very good. So like, there's a lot of cybersecurity courses out there,
There is.
like you had mentioned. So like, what kind of like separates your course? Like, what will the people gain from coming to your course, right? And learning from you as an instructor.
All right, so the difference between me and everyone else, like I'm just like y'all. It took me 3 years to get on, but I learned all the mistakes. Like every mistake I learned, I put in my course. And just like y'all looking like, which course should I take? Should I take this? Should I take that? The crazy thing was I took all those courses and still couldn't get a job. And
Mm.
I realized what's the gap and what's the difference. And the difference was, yeah, they teach you the information. Like when you go to university, they just teach you and they haven't even been doing it. The difference is I do it currently and I've been doing it and on top of that, I help you with your resume. And the resume is one of the things, like the key things that like let a recruiter know, is this person good or do they have the right skill set? And putting certain keywords tied to what you've actually learned in the course is really highlighting you as a candidate. And then also like helping them like figure out which certifications that they want to, go to or get, based on the skills that they learned in the course. Like, you don't realize, but when you just get information taught to you and they just basically teach you, all right, I'm gonna teach you what cybersecurity is. That's one thing. To land a job is a whole nother thing. You got to know how much money you need to ask for. I'll teach you that. You got to know what type of certs support this. You got to know how to do the damn job and how to speak to it when you get in an interview. What type of interview questions are they going to ask me? When I get in the interview, why am I going to freeze up? You're going to freeze up because it's your interview and you didn't even realize instead of 2 people, it's like 4 or 5 people and they all looking at you like this. And by the time you looked on YouTube or some stuff like that, like most people do, it don't tell you all of the little details of the things that,
Nuances.
it just really made me like, I didn't know all that stuff, and that's why it took me 3 years. I didn't know what to put on my resume. I didn't know what type of questions they were going to ask me. So the questions literally came from them asking me and me putting the answers. And that's what I put in my course. I write the questions that they're going to ask you, and I put the answers because every job is different, but they all ask a series like similar questions. And based on your response, that sometimes let them know right away if they even want to continue, because in tech you have 2 to 3 interviews. It's not just like, oh, I went and had one interview and we had a good vibe and that was it. No. Like, nah, it ain't like that. But who knew? I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So I'm
Either.
telling you that. And it's just like it takes some of the stress off, because regardless, you're gonna be nervous in an interview. It took a long time for me to be like, all right, what else? All right, yeah. It took a while for that. Like, it took
Mm.
years. So it takes the nerves off when you're prepared. You know what to do. You know to go research the company. You know to ask questions when they say, hey, do you have any questions for me? You know to ask. You know, because you did your due diligence, your research, you were prepared, you would dress a certain type of way from the top up. Because, most interviews now are virtual, Teams and Zoom and stuff like that. So I think that that's really the major difference. Also have Meta for Facebook, senior technical recruiter, and he also more free stuff, more free info, and he just gives all the tips and things that he's looking for in an interview. So all that interview stuff, it makes a difference. Learn the material, cool. Get your vibe right. Know how you're gonna respond. Main thing, prepare for the interview, look good, present yourself, be knowledgeable, have the proper background, have your resume configured in a certain type of way. These are the things that really make you stand out. And these are the things that's going to make sure that you get the job. I learned a lot of information. Took Linux, I took, all types of, SQL, all types of stuff. And no matter what, when they didn't help me with the interview, I still couldn't get a job. And that's what took me 3 years, not knowing what they was going to ask me, not even knowing what type of jobs to go for. You got to know. So I'm putting the job titles. This is the type of jobs you look for. These are the type of tickers, like basically tickers you put into these searches when you're looking for a job, because that's the stuff. That's the stuff you need. Like the info, y'all can Google all day, or you could pick it up if you're sharp enough. But it's nothing like that part where that interview and that resume, and you presentable and you're confident, and that stuff go a long way. So that's what makes me stand out, because I've been on their shoes, and I'm basically feeding the gaps, and I'm still under price point wise my competitors. Somebody sent me a screenshot the other day about somebody who's doing something similar, and he's like 5K. But if you're doing it for money, it just don't feel right. So I had to put a price tag on it, because it's my time now, and I really spend a lot of time with JL Global Tech and my students. But it's more so about pushing the community forward, and I just want us to get on, man. You know, people talking, send me messages of the day, Deuce changed his life, and you know, Xavier buy his wife an engagement ring. Man, that stuff, you know, that's the vibe. That's what we do it for. And you know, we growing by the day. Yeah, I got a new instructor on my wing now. He's doing networking, and he's also doing a social engineering course. So you know, look for that in 2023. So I'm excited. You know, I'm getting more SMEs, which is subject matter experts, to teach courses because they're doing the job. We're doing the job, and we're showing you what we do at work so that you know what to do, not just a bunch of examples of what it could be by some teachers or professors that ain't doing it, or probably ain't did it. So that's the difference.